Three happiness, that's the kind of happiness that comes from making a positive difference to the world. We all want our lives to have some significance in the world. We want our lives to make some positive difference before we pass on to the next world. For all intents and purposes, we're not content if our lives don't do anything for anybody beyond ourselves. So in a sense then, level 3 happiness is the kind of happiness that comes from, making a positive, an optimal positive difference to someone or something beyond ourselves, our families, our friends, our organizations or institutions like our schools, our churches, the kingdom of God, our society, or our culture if we're so lucky. Now, if you really think about that for a moment, you can look at it from the opposite way. Imagine that you got to 80 years old and you sort of look back on your life and said, what was the difference between the value of my life and that of a rock? And you pretty much had to say your life didn't make much difference. You'd be in incipient despair. But we actually have the opposite drive. We really want to make an optimal positive difference. There was this very famous psychiatrist by the name of Viktor Frankl, wrote a very important book called Man's Search for Meaning. And what he discovered was he was put into a prisoner of war camp, and he discovered there were kind of two groups of prisoners. One group was really trying to get the level 2 happiness back into their lives that the concentration camp had taken out. So they're living in this darkness and this evil, and they're trying to get it back. But there's no level 2 happiness to be found, right? Control, power, winning, achievement, nothing. You're not going to get any of that in a concentration camp. But there was another group of prisoners, I'll just call them level 3 prisoners, who were trying to make some difference with their lives. They began to think not only about how could they make a difference to the other prisoners around them, but when they got out of that concentration camp, how are they going to treat their wives and make a difference to them? Or how are they going to make a difference to, the world by maybe, giving lectures or talks about, the terrible things that have befallen them and all the causes of them. But they really wanted to make a difference. And what Frankl noticed is that the level 3 prisoners, they lived and made a huge difference to the world around them. But the level 2 prisoners, they wound up thinking, gosh, the Allies have to liberate us by Christmas. And then when the Allies didn't liberate them by Christmas, so many of them literally died. That's how important meaning, this level 3 purpose in life, this contribution is. It not only keeps you alive, it gives you a sense of dynamic, animated spirit that moves beyond itself and gives you a most remarkable life and leadership.